The Harvest of the Iron Scholar. Own, the fortress of the mind. In the mid-16th century, the Joseon dynasty was a land fortified not by stone, but by the invisible architecture of the mind. This was the era of the Seonbi, the warrior scholars who wore Neo-Confucianism like a suit of spiritual armor. They believed that the universe was a delicate balance of Qi energy and Li principle, and that a man of absolute virtue was untouchable by the darkness. Zhou Guangwan was the pinnacle of this elite class. He did not believe in ghosts, for to believe in them was to acknowledge a crack in one's own soul. His eyes were like cold flint, his posture as unyielding as an ancient pine. He was a man of iron will, traveling toward the Ming dynasty on a royal mission. But on this journey, he would discover a terrifying truth. The more brittle the iron, the easier it is to shatter. 2. The Village of Whispers. As the sun began to drown behind the jagged, tooth-like peaks of Pyongan province, Zhou's entourage reached a village that felt hollowed out by dread. The air was thick with the scent of damp earth and rot. At the edge of the village sat the Gaiksa, the official government guest house. In Joseon, these buildings were sacred ground, housing a wooden tablet that represented the king's sovereign authority. The local official, his skin sallow and taut with dread, knelt before Zhou's horse. "My lord, I beg of you, do not cross that threshold. The Giksa is no longer a house of the king. It has become a larder. 10 men of high rank have slept in that central room. 10 times we have opened the doors at dawn to find them emptied. Their bodies remain, but their spirits, and something far more vital, are gone." Zhou Guangwan looked down with a sneer of cold contempt. "You speak of ghosts because your own heart is full of shadows." Zhou's voice cut through the evening mist like a blade. "I carry the mandate of the king. My virtue is my shield. Prepare the room. I shall sleep where your monsters dwell. And at dawn, you will see how foolish your fears truly are." 3. The Vigil in the Dark. The interior of the guest house was a graveyard of dust and decaying silk. The floorboards shrieked under Zhou's feet like old bones. He dismissed his servants, ordering them to barricade the outer gates. He sat alone in the center of the main hall, a single beeswax candle flickering on a small table. For hours, there was only the sound of the wind. It didn't just howl, it wheezed, like a woman gasping for breath through a slit throat. Zhou closed his eyes, meditating on the scriptures of the sages. But then the atmosphere shifted. The temperature plummeted. The flame of his candle turned a sickly, bruised purple. Drip. Drip. A warm, heavy liquid landed on the back of Zhou's hand. He wiped it away, expecting rainwater. In the dim light, his hand was stained a deep, visceral crimson. He looked up. The ceiling beams were sweating. The wood was bleeding. 4. The Assembly of the Damned. Then came the sound that would haunt Zhou's remaining days. The visceral, sodden impact of raw meat hitting the floor. Thwack! Behind him, a human arm, severed at the shoulder, lay twitching on the mat. Thwack! A leg. Thwack! A torso. And finally, a head rolled toward the candlelight. It was the face of a beautiful woman, her eyes wide and milk white in death. Zhou Guangwan gripped his sword, his knuckles white. "Show yourself! What sorcery is this?" He watched in frozen horror as black, oily threads, thinner than hair but pulsing like veins, erupted from the severed limbs. These threads reached out, weaving through the air, dragging the dismembered limbs into a grotesque reunion. The arm slid into the shoulder socket. The torso fused with the hips. The threads acted as needles, stitching the skin with jagged, charcoal-colored sutures. The woman stood. She was dressed in the tattered, blood-soaked finery of a gisang, the artist entertainers of the lower caste. Her head was tilted at a 90-degree angle, her neck held together by a dozen pulsing black cords. "My lord," she whispered. Her voice was not one voice, but a dissonant choir of a dozen different souls, all screaming in a low, vibrating hum. "You have such a magnificent soul, so orderly, so firm. I have been waiting for a spine as strong as yours." 5. The Deception of Han. Zhou Guangwan, his voice trembling for the first time in his life, demanded, "What is your grievance, spirit? Speak, and I shall provide justice." The entity collapsed to its knees, its movements erratic and stuttered, like a marionette with tangled strings. It began to weep, not tears, but thick black ichor. It spoke of Han, the deep cultural well of unresolved resentment that poisons the soul. "I was Wu Yang," she sobbed, "a humble performer. A nobleman of this province took me by force, and when I resisted, he hacked me into pieces while I was still screaming. They threw me into a pit under the great boulder at the cliff's edge. My lord, you represent the justice of the heavens. Please, find my pieces. Give me a burial, and I shall leave this place forever." Zhou felt a surge of righteous fury. This fit his worldview perfectly. A victim seeking the light of the law. "By my honor as a scholar, I shall see it done. Tomorrow, your murderer shall be brought to the block, and your remains shall be sanctified." The ghost looked up, and for a second her face shifted. A flash of a jagged, multi-toothed maw behind her lips. "Thank you, my lord. I can feel your heart beating. So brave, so stable." 6. The Pit of the Pulsing Hive. At the first light of dawn, Zhou Guangwan led the villagers to the cliff. They heaved the massive, moss-covered boulder aside. Zhou expected to find the skeletal remains of a single woman. He found a nightmare. Under the rock was a deep, narrow shaft. It didn't contain bones. It was filled with fresh, wet human organs. Dozens of hearts, hundreds of eyes, and rows of lungs, all suspended in a viscous amber ichor. They weren't rotting. They were alive. The entire pit was breathing in a slow, agonizing rhythm. Zhou realized the truth in a flash of blinding terror. This wasn't the grave of a victim. This was a larder. The entity wasn't a girl named Wu Yang. It was a metaphysical parasite, a Zhongga. It survived by harvesting the pure energy of officials to maintain its own patchwork immortality. The story of the Giseng was a psychological trap. It needed Zhou to accept it, to open his heart to it through sympathy, so it could claim his iron soul as its new foundation. 7. The Silent Invasion. As the villagers fled in terror, Zhou Guangwan stood frozen at the edge of the pit. The woman appeared behind him, her reflection visible in the slime of the organs below. The others were too soft. The choir of voices whispered in his ear. Their hearts burst from fear. But yours is tempered steel. You will keep me whole for a century. The official records state that Zhou Guangwan returned to the capital a hero. He was promoted to the highest ranks of the government and praised for his stoicism. But the man who returned was not Zhou Guangwan. The new Zhou never blinked, even in the brightest sunlight. His skin was always the temperature of a corpse. And late at night, when the house was silent, A beautiful, haunting Gisang song would echo through the halls. It didn't come from the garden or the street. It came from inside Zhou Guangluan's chest. The monster hadn't just killed him. It had stepped inside his skin, using his righteous reputation as a perfect mask, hiding its patchwork horror behind the face of a hero. Next time you feel a chill in the air, or hear a faint song from a hollow chest, remember, not every soul seeks justice. Some only seek a new home. This has been K-Nightmare. Stay vigilant and sleep with one eye open. Like and subscribe if you dare.